Well, the Indianapolis Colts are rolling. They've won 6 out of their last 7 games, 6-1 against the spread in those 7 games. They now sit at 8-4. They're in great shape in the AFC playoff race. It'll probably be a wild card berth for the Colts. They are 3 games behind Houston in the AFC South, but still, playoffs for the Indianapolis Colts a year after they were the worst team in the NFL and picked number 1 overall. I mean, I don't think anybody, not even the most optimistic Colts fan, could have foreseen this. And you know what? Most of the credit, I'm not saying all of the credit and I'm not minimizing anything else, but so much of the credit in this situation needs to be given to Andrew Luck, their rookie quarterback. I know there's been a change in coaching staffs. I know there's been the tragic situation with Chuck Pagano and his leukemia. Bruce Arians, of course, has been the functioning head coach for most of the season for the Indianapolis Colts, but no doubt the team has been inspired by Pagano's situation. I'm not minimizing that at all. I know they've played a little bit better on defense this year. Even though they're not a good defense, they're better than they were last year. That's not saying much, of course. Last year they had one of the worst defenses in the NFL. So it's not all luck. There are improvements elsewhere. But, I mean, look at this team. They have trouble running the ball. They only rush for 106 yards per game. They are not a good defense. They give up 25 points per game, 25.5 to be exact. That's 24th in the league. What they do well is pass the ball. This team is winning because of the right arm of Andrew Luck, 3rd in the NFL in total offense. Did you know that? I didn't. I was certainly surprised to see that. Indianapolis has steadily been climbing up the total offense rankings throughout the year. Total offense, of course, is combined yards from the line of scrimmage, combined rushing and passing yards. I mean, I bet you not many people would know. I bet you could stump some people who said, who's 3rd in the NFL in total offense right now? How about it's the Indianapolis Colts? And it's because Andrew Luck is passing for 285 yards per game. And the Colts are especially good at home. Colts 5-1 at home this season, which is why it's a little bit of a surprise, I think, that they're only 5-point favorites this week against the Tennessee Titans, who have been really, really struggling. Tennessee has dropped 4 out of their last 5. They now sit at 4-8. They have a terrible defense. 31st in the NFL in points allowed. They allow 30 points per game. We just talked about that Colts offense that has been getting better and better, is now 3rd in the NFL in yards per game. So doesn't feel like a good matchup for Tennessee. Now, these two teams played a month and a half or so ago. Colts won 19-13 in overtime. This was back when these two teams were thought of as equals before the Colts went on their run. I was actually backing Tennessee in that game, so I remember it vividly. The Titans had control of that game, and they blew it there in the end. As we said, Colts ended up with the 19-13 overtime victory. But I don't know, to me it feels like the Colts are better now than they were then, and Tennessee might be worse. Jake Locker playing at quarterback now, and Locker, I guess, has shown flashes this year, but he's a really young, inexperienced guy and does not throw the ball right now as well as Matt Hasselbeck, who's the backup. And I don't have a lot of faith in the Titans right now. Won betting against them last week, and I do lean towards Indianapolis in this spot. That being said, Indianapolis, this is one of the first times over the last few weeks you've heard me say, hey, I like Indianapolis here. And obviously I've been wrong most of the time because Indianapolis 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games, we said. But, you know, I've been very skeptical of this Colts team because they have a bad defense, because they're relying on Andrew Luck. I mean, this is, you know, it's a different situation. This isn't like Ben Roethlisberger, for example, when he was a rookie and took his team all the way to the Super Bowl. He had a great team around him. Andrew Luck is not in a situation like that. And so it's tough for me to fully get behind them and trust them. I mean, after all, last week, Luck, despite throwing for 390 yards and 4 touchdowns, he also threw for 3 interceptions and 30 incompletions. So he's far from perfect, but they've been riding this guy, and he's been producing week in and week out. Tennessee, as we said, has a terrible defense, and the Titans also get blown out a lot. The Titans have lost by 20 points or more 5 times this season. And so something interesting I was thinking about this game, because, you know, I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything on this game myself or not, but I think the 2 best-looking bets in this game are actually Indianapolis -5 and Titans money line. Now, Titans can be had at about plus 200 on the money line right now, 2-1 on your money. And hey, I don't think the Titans are going to win the game, but Tennessee's a weird team. They're a strange team. We mentioned they lost 4 out of the last 5. Well, their one win in that span was a road win over the Miami Dolphins. They won that game 37-3. Miami's not a great team this year, but they're certainly not terrible. And, you know, if you're thinking about betting Tennessee +5, if you're saying, well, it's just too many points in a division game, let me remind you that in Tennessee's 8 losses this season, they haven't lost one of those games by fewer than 5 points. So when they lose, they go ahead and lose. We mentioned 5 of those 8 losses have been by 20 points or more. None of them have been by fewer than 5 points. So Tennessee is not a team that has lost a whole lot of, 2-point, 3-point games, games that are coming down to the wire. This is a team, usually when they lose, they get blown out, and sometimes they sneak up and win a game, like they did in Miami, like they did early in the season against Pittsburgh when everybody had counted them out. So my 2 favorite bets on this game are Indianapolis -5 and Tennessee money line. Between those two, I guess I like Indianapolis -5 a little better.